In your first few moments in Edge, you'll recognize it's unlike any software you've used before, with a rich, powerful interface that's all based on being online. The Edge world converts your conversations with your clients and your conversations with potential partners into rich online experiences. Let's take a look at what it looks like to create a new conversation with a client. When you click on New Client, it launches a wizard, and what this does is takes you through a very quick 8-step process that results in a very powerful on-screen presentation. Now, this process melds with what you're already doing. It just allows you to have a great conversation with the consumer. Start off by gathering their very basic data, a phone number to call them back at, and if they're currently renting or owning. Then we want to capture your client's goals. Just a quick few seconds to let them know that you're interested in why they're getting a loan, because you want to align your advice with their major goal. This stops rate shoppers in their tracks by changing the entire focus of the conversation. You then identify if they do have that previous loan, if you want to use it in your analysis, gather some of that information about that previous mortgage. You want to also find out what their current financial position is. So when we're going to provide insight to a program, we really do need to know what their current gross income is, what kind of debts they may have, and what type of tax bracket they fall in so we can approximate some investment calculations. Now again, in just a few steps, you can see we're already on the 4th step of the conversation. So in a matter of just a few minutes, we're able to capture that information about the client that's really going to help fuel a phenomenal presentation. Now we start selecting some products to actually compare to in real time. So you as originators are able to set your default templates. You're also able to enter loans on the fly. You can see that we put down payment, interest rate, loan type, etc. And as we enter these loans into Edge, what's happening is the PITI payments and the approximate DTI and LTV of each of those loan programs are presented in the right-hand portion of your screen. What this means is that while you're on the phone with a client, you're still engaged with them, you haven't hung up yet, you can provide some rich analyses and start crunching the numbers so that you can provide some clear value and insight in that conversation. See, once you've entered all the products that you want to compare side by side, you're brought to the analysis summary dashboard. This is doing some of the heavy lifting math to allow you to provide perspective to your client. So if you'd like to crunch some of the numbers on the fly, perhaps adjust the number of years that are being computed for the short-term interest savings, or increase the number of years perhaps for the long-term savings analysis, or even change, are we looking at total principal paid, total net worth, or total interest in MI paid, you can do so all in real time while your client is still on the phone. You're able to convey some clear calculations and some very obvious financial value to working with you. Of course, you want to also be able to provide this proposal and this insight to your client in a format that's consumable to them. So simply continue through the wizard, gather their contact info, and select the report that you want to deliver. In this case, we're going to send a total cost analysis. This lets us take a look at the monthly savings, again, the short-term savings, and the long-term savings. Enables us to enter in any of the information that we want to share to our consumer to help them understand and give some perspective to the report that we're going to provide. The very last step is deciding how do you want to deliver this report to your client. Would you like to print it so that they can have a hard copy to consume? Let's have a look at that. So when you select print, it's going to come up, and here's your first page of your total cost analysis. A summary of your loan options and a graphical representation of the short, mid, and long-term savings. As we studied consumers, it was very clear to us at Mortgage Coach to see consumers understand charts. Sometimes they get lost in tables. But for the consumers that really do want to look at the details and have your first-hand perspective along to guide them, the second page of the total cost analysis breaks down those detailed numbers. Now, while a printed presentation is terrific and powerful, we all send most of our information about consumers in the sales process through email. So what we've also generated was the ability to create a very robust on-screen presentation. So when you select email, it generates a link. You're then able to copy this link and send it in an email or any other format that you would like to. And when your consumer puts this link in their browser, this is what they see. They see a report on screen with your logo, your picture, your branding, and all of the information on the different loan programs that you promoted. You can click on the More Info button on any of these graphs, and it's going to give you the background information into what's powering those charts. This real-time on-screen presentation can be used to actually edit and converse with the consumer in real time. So if your client is looking at this report and you go back into your Mortgage Coach Edge and make changes to the products that you've had listed or any of the amounts, interest rate, or any data that's powering those products, that information is updated on those on that on-screen report. So very robust dialogue can be created with your clients. Now, in addition to consumer-facing materials, we know that referrals do that important job of referring us more business. So while we can drive a commitment from a consumer, if we can get 3, 6, 9, 12, exponentially more business from a partner, certainly we need to be able to have those conversations. But where most of us stumble as originators is in seeking out how do we create value with our realtor partner. Well, it's easy with Mortgage Coach Edge. You click New Partner and you're launched into the New Partner Wizard, which is a 6-step process to create that wow presentation. Capture the name of your partner, what type of partner they are, if they're a realtor, financial planner, etc. And then what we find most often when we look at realtors is that we want to wrap the financial strategy that we're presenting around a particular listing. So we enter the information about that home, some additional data, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and an easy ability to check off some additional features of that home so that we can provide some additional clarity in that document about this listing. So here we've entered the value of this home, we've entered the features of this home, we've also had the ability to upload a picture of this home. So as you create this material, one of the things that we're striving to do is to generate value with that potential realtor partner. And when they can see the customizations in the report, certainly looks like a lot of work and it's very personal to their listing. Once you've entered that, you now are going to compare the various programs that you want to include in the document. So much like the consumer portion of the wizard, you are now entering in the product details that are going to power that analysis. Same idea and concept here. You're able to enter multiple programs. You're having a look at how those programs are being computed and compared to one another here on the right-hand side of the screen. And once you've entered all of the products that you want to include in your analysis, you once again have an analysis summary dashboard. You can take a closer look at any of these figures, ensure that these are the loans that you want to include, and then we're ready to produce our report for our partner. So one of the key feedbacks that we've gotten from top producers across the industry, one of those things that everybody's wanted to have is co-branding. So we make it very simple for you to co-brand these realtor materials to generate that wow. So you simply browse and attach their headshot and a logo, and the documents that you create now will include their information in the printed and on-screen presentations. You select the type of report that you want to provide to your realtor partner. So in this case, we have 2 options, a permanent rate buy down and an open house flyer. Let me go ahead and select open house flyer. You select the loans that you want to include on that document. You confirm the picture that you want to appear on the document. And then you decide how you want that document delivered to your realtor partner. So if we click print once again, we're going to prepare that document, and what it's going to allow us to do is show a co-branded presentation to a realtor that has the multiple loan options, the features of the home, a graphical representation of those loan options, and our co-branded material. A very powerful way to generate value and clarity of what you can provide to your realtor partner. Another way, other than just highlighting different options of loans for a particular property, like we mentioned, is to wrap more financial strategy around that home to help your realtor partner move that inventory. A great way to do that is with a permanent rate buy down. Many realtors don't understand the strength of such a solution. So you're able to enter the buy down amounts, any customization to the document that you'd like to reflect on. You select a property image to include in the report, and then you decide how you want to deliver it. In much the same way of generating that open house flyer, we now can generate a permanent buy down scenario that we can connect to this listing. They're able to see the document, and most importantly, they're able to see the different financial calculations that you're using to illustrate to them most clearly that to get their consumer, to get their buyer, the savings that you're going to provide with a permanent rate buy down, they would have to lower the price of the home by $28,000 in this particular case. Send this to a handful of realtors when they can see that you can provide $28,000 worth of savings to their client, and the conversation becomes quite powerful. So when you think of Edge from a perspective as an originator, Edge is meant to give you that clarity, to give you that value, to give you that commitment from your clients and generate those commitments from your referral partners.